Hello, everybody. My name's Garrett Sims, and at 2:30 on a Wednesday afternoon, it's January 6th, 2021. Um, you read, you definitely read the title correctly. We're gonna do something called Wild Card Wednesday, and the whole point behind it is I'm gonna scroll through Instagram, Twitter, maybe even Snapchat. I don't know what I can find on Snapchat, but we're just gonna look at some big sports topics, and I'm gonna give you my first reaction to them. I'm gonna tell you what I think, um, and you're gonna get a first-hand reaction to some of these things, and they could be breaking. I don't really know. So I did find my first one, and this is really interesting. Actually, I could show you. This one says that Falcons owner Arthur Blank confirms Julio Jones and Matt Ryan could be traded. That one's really interesting. We've known that Julio's been in talks to be traded for a while. Like it was definitely possible that he was on the trade block. And now to hear the owner say it, it's becoming more surreal that it's possible. I don't think they do it. Matt Ryan is old. His cap is going to go through the roof the next couple of years. I forget what his contract is, but he signed one, I think, after the Super Bowl or after his I think that was his MVP. I don't remember. He did win an MVP. I do think there's a chance that they could be gone. I don't know suitors for them both. Julio's a little bit easier to trade because he's a wide receiver. His cap isn't as big, but it's still definitely there. But then you talk about destinations. Where could somebody like Julio Jones go? Where could Julio end up going? And the Patriots have been talked about for a while, but unless the Patriots gave them something like a Stephon Gilmore, which is very plausible. Stephon Gilmore for Julio Jones and maybe a couple other trade assets. That is very possible, but the Patriots have cap rooms of their own. But that's definitely a top destination for them. I think the Bengals are somebody that could be looking for one. They would be moving off AJ Green, so they would be looking for a wide receiver, especially to help out Joe Burrow, get an experienced guy at the wide receiver position, a go-to guy. So then you would have Boyd, T. Higgins, and Julio Jones all on one team. That would help Joe Burrow tremendously. I'd love to see him go there. I think the Eagles are an option. I don't know if the Falcons would be willing to trade him to somewhere in the NFC. I think if they do, it's going to be somewhere in the AFC. But the Eagles should definitely be jumping in line. If they're going to continue with Hurts, they need to get him a wide receiver. Jaguars, possibly. There's a lot of teams that I think could use a wide receiver like Julio. When you're that good, I think anybody could say, "Oh, we're in the hunt for Julio. We would definitely trade for him." Matt Ryan, on the other hand, is a little bit harder. It's definitely going to have to be to a team that's a contender, that has problems at quarterback, that doesn't think that they can get it done with who they have. Maybe somebody like the Colts. If they don't get Carson Wentz, I think maybe even the Jets could be an option. But at this point, I just don't know. I would seriously think it would have to be a contending team that Matt Ryan would want to go to stay there for a year and then possibly retire. But if I'm the Falcons, I'm keeping Matt Ryan. It has to be a match made in heaven for them to look at anybody else. They need to draft a quarterback either this year or next year. They need Matt Ryan to teach them the ropes. I think they could definitely afford drafting a guy like Zach Wilson to study under Matt Ryan for a year and then handing over the reins, because you look this year and I don't think Matt Ryan's done, but that's the first news I've seen. Julio and Matt Ryan are definitely on the trade block. They're looking for a new coach. They're looking for a new GM. They're obviously in a rebuilding state. I don't think Todd Gurley's going to be there. I think it's going to be a rough year in Atlanta next year, especially if you get rid of those two guys. So here we go. We're going back to Instagram, and we're going to see what we got. We got something about the MVP. I think we all know who won that. Okay, so here we go. We got a list of top head coach and quarterback combos, and I'm going to read them off to you, and then I'm going to list them. I'm going to list them based on what I think. So the list is Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, Sean Payton and Drew Brees, Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, and lastly Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. I'm strictly off of 2020 this season, and I'm going to rank them. At number one, I'm going to go with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid's the best offensive-minded coach in the NFL. Mahomes is an unbelievable talent, and I still have yet to think that he has played his best game this season. At number two, I'm going to go with John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. Lamar's played like an absolute beast, and I can't imagine if he would have went anywhere else. John Harbaugh's been a good coach to him. He's a big reason for Lamar's success, so I'm going to rank them at number two. Number three, I'm going to go with Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. McDermott single-handedly turned Allen into a weapon. I think if Allen goes anywhere else, I don't think he's as good. You know, obviously, if he goes to somebody like Andy Reid or Bill Belichick, I think he's better. But I just don't think there's anybody that could make Josh Allen what he is right now. And number four, this is tough, and I'm going to have to go with Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. And LaFleur has done a great job of making sure that the playbook has plays that Aaron Rodgers knows and is familiar with. He's done a great job with that. He has done a great job with taking what Aaron Rodgers does and making the Packers do that. He has put Rodgers in a position to succeed. If any Packers fan doesn't want to admit that, I get that, but he's done a great job putting Aaron in a position to succeed. So they're at four. Five, I'm going to go with Bruce Arians, Brady. And I say that because Brady's played phenomenal this season. I think that's more on Brady than it is Arians. And we'll talk about Arians later because I know there's definitely something I want to talk about with him. Tom Brady's outplayed a lot of quarterbacks on this list. So Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, number five. Number six, Russ, the chef, because he can cook, and Pete Carroll. The reason I have them so low is because Wilson did do a good job early in the season with playing at a high level and helping the Seattle Seahawks become what they are. They did a phenomenal job with that. The reason I have him so low is just because I don't like Pete Carroll. It feels like Russell Wilson is the reason that he succeeds a little bit. Without Russell, I think the offense is totally different. I think if they have any other quarterback there, it's a different Seahawks team. The defense is hanging on by literally some duct tape named Jamal Adams and Carlos Dunlap. That's why they're so low. Next, I'm going to go with Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill has been amazing this year. He is very underrated from a statistics standpoint. I don't think he's a commander of the game. I don't think he's a game changer. He can get some stuff done with his legs, but we've seen in big games that when the Titans have to rely on Ryan Tannehill, he can't get it done. And we've seen that too many times. People may not want to admit that, but I've noticed it for sure that when Ryan Tannehill is asked to go win a game, Ryan Tannehill can't win a game. Mike Vrabel's done a good job making sure that offense does what that offense does best. Run the ball with Derrick Henry, play action, get it done. Very good. I'm going to go with Sean Payton and Drew Brees next. It's been a very up and down season for them, and that's why they're so low. Sean Payton is up there with Andy when you talk about offensive-minded head coach. He can win with about anybody at quarterback, and that's why I think I rate them so low, is because he won with Taysom. He's won with Drew. He won with Teddy. So I don't know really if it's the best quarterback head coach combo. More of it is Sean Payton just being a genius. And that puts the last duo on the list is Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger. Mike Tomlin isn't an offensive coach. He's a defensive coach, and he's a very, very well-rounded one. Ben Roethlisberger's been shaky this year, very inconsistent, lots of interceptions, meaningful interceptions too. Some of them have cost some games, changed the momentum, kept teams in the game, but they're definitely going last on that list. That was a fun look. That was fun. So we're gonna keep going. My list for top quarterback combos. Okay, so here we go. Super wild card weekend. We're gonna talk about a matchup here, and this is going to unfold some layers because there's a lot of this that I want to talk about. The Washington football team versus Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is going to be one of the most interesting games. I think this is the most intriguing matchup of the weekend. We look at it's very much defense against offense. Chase Young was quoted this weekend saying, "I want Tom. I want Tom." So let's start with that. The kid's young. So I mean, I think for him, it's more anything like if I was in his situation, of course I would want to play Tom Brady. I would want to line up on the line of scrimmage knowing that Tom Brady's in the other backfield. But Tom Brady's had a past of taking stuff like that and making it bulletin board material and absolutely just torching teams with it. And the Buccaneers have played really well the past couple weeks. That offense is rolling. And so I don't know if that was the right choice of words to say. So you look at it, and I think Tom Brady – I don't think Tom Brady's going to take it to heart like he would in his 30s or maybe 35s. I think he's definitely going to not settle well on his stomach. But, we just got to really look at that. And then, Bruce Arians came out and said, based on that comment, he said, "Be careful what you wish for." And that's so true because of somebody like Tom. And actually, Skip Bayless coined this term for Tom. When Tom sees something that Tom takes personally, it's Tom turns into Psycho Tom. And I totally agree with that. I 100% agree with Psycho Tom. I've seen it. But, he said, be careful what you wish for. And this is intriguing because do you really want to face the Bucs? Like, if you look up and down, the team that you want to play if you're in the NFC is the Bears or the Washington football team. Those are the two that you undeniably want to play in the playoffs. And that's nothing against them. That's just they're the worst two teams. It almost seems like, oh, here's your invitation to the party. We really didn't want you to be here, but you're here anyway. So why don't we set you up against the Bucs? Very good defense. Their defensive ranks, pass yards per game is second, points per game is fourth, and yards per play is second. It's really, really going to be a matchup of offense versus defense. Alex Smith is going to have to nickel and dime against a very good defense as well. This could be one of those games. It might be 48-7 or it'd be 14-10. 14-13, 17-13. Just one of those. That's all I have to say on that. And I've said it. I'm going to keep agreeing with my early pick in this game, and I think I'm going to take the Bucs, but don't give Tom Brady material like that. Don't give the greatest quarterback of all time a reason to go out there and beat you because he'll do it. I'm going to keep going here. Ranking the NFL head coaching jobs. I've talked about this a couple times. This is done by CBS Sports, and they have it listed as the Jaguars, number 1, the Chargers 2, the Jets 3, the Texans 4, the Lions 5, and the Falcons 6. I don't necessarily agree with all of it. Um, I'm not so interested in the Jaguars because the owner wants he wants to just meddle in this team because it is his team, but he wants to meddle in it. So that's why I would have the Chargers at 1. Um, Great ownership, great quarterback. They do got some pieces, and they have the best uniforms in the National Football League. So I think that's no doubt that the Chargers' job is more. I think the Chargers is the best job. And number 2, I'm going to go the Jets, and that's just because they got so much cap room. They got an early pick. They do have Sam Darnold, so you could do what you want with that. If you want to keep Sam Darnold, you could keep Sam. You could trade him. There's a lot of teams that would definitely be interested in Darney. Um, so I'm gonna put Chargers, Jets. Then I'll go Jags because Jags have a chance to get Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. It's you got Miles Jack, you got DJ Chark, you got that really good end Josh Allen. So that's where I would put the Jaguars at number 3. Yes, you would have to deal with an owner. Yes, you would have to deal with an owner that wants to be like the Cowboys. Oh, who do we sign? You want to sign some guy that hasn't been in the league for a year? Okay, let's do it. Great story. Great for the team. No, that's not what I want. Jaguars 3. Number 4, I'm going to put the Lions. I don't know. Just something about having 2 good wide receivers. You have Stafford. Once again, it's kind of like one of those things. You get a very good trade piece. You can have a good trade piece there, and you could have 2 very good wide receivers. So I think that's a little bit better for me. Then 5th, I'll go the Texans. You got Deshaun Watson, but man, you got a lot of cap room problems. A lot of cap room. A terrible defense that you're just going to have to fix, and really a terrible offense. I mean, you got J.J. Watt who doesn't want to be there anymore. So if you take away J.J. Watt from this equation, it really turns into, oh, you got Deshaun Watson. That's why they are 5th. And 6th, the Falcons. It's just because they have some pieces. I just think if you look, if they're in a rebuild, they are in the early stages of a rebuild. They're in the part of a rebuild where you don't even realize you're in a rebuild yet, because you're so blinded by Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and Grady Jarrett that you're like, oh, we can definitely compete. And they did compete this season, but I just don't think they can turn it around. I'd be surprised. They got a washed up Todd Gurley. That's why they're 6. I just think that they're in that part of the rebuild phase where they don't even know it. Maybe some of the Falcons are like, oh, we're definitely in a rebuild, but I just feel like they are in a situation where we can be competitive. Don't joke yourself. Don't joke around with yourself, Falcons. You guys need to rebuild. The only way you have a chance at standing up to Tampa Bay, and the Buccaneers is if you rebuild that team, because the Saints are going to be good. All the Saints have to do is get a quarterback. And believe it or not, the Panthers are a quarterback away as well. And sadly, you replace Matt Ryan, you're still going to be last place. So we're going to go ahead and move on here. Yeah, this is actually interesting. I scroll down 1 and I see this. So Derrick Henry had 2,000 yards rushing, and none of their linemen made the Pro Bowl. This is the problem with the Pro Bowl. It's been the problem with the Pro Bowl for the longest time, is that people vote the starters in, and I have no problem with that. But that's the difference between Pro Bowl and All Pro. I think it's definitely like, oh, you know what, you made a Pro Bowl. Like Patrick Mahomes has made 3 Pro Bowls in 3 of his years starting. So of course that's like an achievement. But when you have somebody like Derrick Henry who rushes for 2,000 yards and has 0 Pro Bowl linemen, it can go either way. You can really look at it 2 ways. That Derrick Henry is unbelievable because he is. I seriously do not think the Titans are a playoff team without him. That's how good this guy is. I think if they don't have Derrick Henry, they're just the Miami Dolphins when Tannehill was with the Dolphins. But if If Lewin never got hurt, I think Lewin would have been a Pro Bowler. But no, that's definitely something that's wrong with the Pro Bowl. I think at least one of them should have got at least in as a backup or maybe a reserve. I think one of them will get in unless they make the Super Bowl, because players are going to get hurt. Somebody's going to make the Super Bowl. There's going to be an lineman out, and I think these guys should definitely be looked at to be in the Pro Bowl. You don't rush for 2,000 yards for just by yourself. You can't do it. So yeah, there's that. Take a look. The Hall of Fame finalists came out. A lot of people were kind of upset. Obviously, Peyton Manning, first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to make it. Calvin Johnson's going to make it. Charles Woodson, I think, will, and I think Jared Allen will. There's a couple other names on this list. John Lynch, he should. I think he should. Reggie Wayne should. I don't know if Reggie Wayne will go in the first year, though. So there's that. They were saying, I think, Willis got snubbed, and I will agree with that. But the one knock on Willis is that kind of had a short career. One of the greatest to play the position, but had probably one of the shortest careers at linebackers. Here we go. Oh, the Browns situation just keeps getting worse. So first, you find out yesterday that your head coach isn't going to coach. Can't. Test positive for COVID. So now, who's going to call the plays? Probably the offensive coordinator. It's probably not going to really be a head coach. It's probably just going to be like the offensive or defensive coordinator just takes over for a game. This might be a little bit overreaction, but Browns' Jarek Willis was cited for drag racing with teammate Rashad Higgins. You know, and take that for what it is. When you're an athlete, you're put under a microscope. So he could have just been he came back and said, so nobody ever tried to beat somebody off the line at a red light for a max of 30 meters. If that's true, it's just another case of blowing it out of proportion. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't think they were drag racing for money. I don't think they were lining up on a Tuesday night and saying, oh, we're racing for pink slips. No, I think it was just blown out of proportion there. Let's see if we can find anything else. We got a lot of football news. I also follow a lot of people on follow a lot of football on Instagram, so that's probably why. Twitter is going to be the more fun one because then you can just look at famous journalists' tweets. Xavier Howard for Defensive Player of the Year, yes or no? I think definitely worth the conversation. I think TJ Watt should get it, though. I'm trying to find something. Huh. I'm this is going to be curious. We're going to look through. Gotta have something to talk about. Always gotta have something to talk about. Ravens Titans. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence declared today. He finally declared. So better get that number 16 and teal ready. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Okay, so we have an interesting quote here from NFL Network. This comes from NFL Network analyst Nate Burleson on the Ravens-Titans playoff matchup. And this is interesting because of what he says and kind of how he says it. He says, look, the Lamar Jackson-led Ravens will be a completely different squad. This is talking about the Titans and Ravens matchup. And, you know, I love watching their show, but I just disagree with this. And the reason I disagree with this is because, you know, Lamar's been playing great. And Lamar was playing great last year. I think the difference between the two teams at this point in the season, from last year and this year is that I think the Ravens this year are a little bit hotter, but they're really the same team. It's not like Lamar Jackson was out during that matchup last year. So don't say a Lamar Jackson led Ravens team because he still led them last year. Which that's my knock on that quote. Lamar Jackson led them last year and lost. Now I think this year is different because the Titans aren't as good. I think the Ravens win this game, but that's kind of far fetched. I still think the Titans have a chance. The Titans have always been fairly good at anytime they face the Ravens. So I don't get that. Sometimes I wonder when we see quotes like that. I'm just kind of like, I feel like you're more just stating some obvious things than actually giving an opinion, and that's what I could be doing. Anybody. So I'm not gonna knock on that. I just seen that and I was kind of like, that's a really weird way to put it. I think he probably meant it in a different way, like Lamar Jackson is playing a lot better. They're trusting Lamar a little bit more. That's what he probably could meant, and just the way it sounds comes out a little bit funky. Maybe I'll see who's number one with it or not, because I think I know my number one team. They rank the Chargers higher than the Bears, and the Bears in the playoffs. Same. I'm gonna take a look here. Still. But if I had to team, it's either between the Bills and the Packers. They've played so much better. Of course, it restarts on me. I think it's the Bills or the Packers. Allen's played so good that he's making that offense just look great. Aaron's done the same thing. It comes down to me who's playing defense better, and I think the Packers are playing a little bit better defense. The Chiefs haven't played good enough in their past couple games to say, like the Chiefs are number one. So I think when anybody puts the Chiefs number one right now, it's just because they're the defending champs, which kind of loses credibility a little bit because you're just putting them in there because, they're the champs. But no, it should be the Packers or Bills. Here we go. We're back to where we left off. 6 Buccaneers. They have the Green Bay Packers at 3. So I can only imagine that the Bills are 1, or the Bills are either 1 or the Chiefs are 2, something like that. The Chiefs are 1 or the Bills are 2. So we're just going to move on from that. I don't feel like. Good little meme here. Mahomes will be the MJ meme after Rodgers gets the MVP. We'll see another level of Patrick Mahomes. I feel like we were going to see that anyway because people are starting to doubt the Chiefs. Don't doubt them. Don't doubt Patrick Mahomes. We're going to keep scrolling here. I want to get something basketball. Obviously, there's something I kind of want to end with. Chan Gailey, Dolphins offensive coordinator, resigned. Not shocking. I think the offense can be a little bit better for them. Offensive player of the week, Derrick Henry. You rush for 200 yards. You get 2,000 rushing yards. You obviously deserve offensive player of the week. First time since 1989 that the Bills or Browns are both in the playoffs. Golly, I seriously feel like there's nothing really. There's one thing that I think we all genuinely know that happened last night that we could talk about, but I'm just kind of saving it, while I'm looking, I'm just going to talk about Alex Smith. We all seen that they made a trophy out of his brace. I think that's the coolest thing ever. He's obviously going to be comeback player of the year. I think a lot of people are petitioning to be like, oh, Alex should get it named after him. Oh, yeah. See, that's what happens. My mic just died on me, so now I can't hear anything. I love it. I love it. The headphones die. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me. I think you can, so I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. So now I can probably hear myself. I don't know. We'll just keep going. I guess I'm just going to talk about it. The Heisman winner for the first time in history was a wide receiver, Devontae Smith. This kind of didn't shock anybody after his matchup. All season long, everybody matched up with every team. He just burnt the crap out of the corners. I mean, I really don't know what to say because there's nothing really controversial about it. I mean, the dude deserved to win. I mean, the finalist was Lawrence, Smith, I think Trask. I forgot the other one. I feel stupid because I forgot him, but obviously, it's just really no surprise. You know, we all kind of knew it, and I think it's a little bit more fun when we know. Like last year, we knew Joe Burrow was going to win it. We no matter what anybody did, Joe Burrow was going to win, and that's what kind of that's. And sometimes the Heisman is like that. I just wish a little bit closer, but there's really no discussing it. Dude deserved to win. He won, so congratulations, making history. It's going to be interesting to see where his career goes. Congrats to him. Hopefully, I think they win the Natty. I think Alabama wins the Natty. I think they're just the better team. So, once again, a lot of things about Trevor Lawrence declaring for the draft. So Cam Newton quoted, "If you're asking me if I want to be a backup," he said no, he doesn't. This is after the rumors about him and the Patriots splitting. No shock to anybody. He didn't play well this year. I think he'll have to settle to be a backup. If he wants to play, he cannot let his ego get in the way. Be a backup. Jameis Winston learned how to be a backup. Teddy Bridgewater learned how to be a backup. And Teddy Bridgewater's a starter. So I think he's going to have to play it smart. I think he's going to have to take 1 year as a backup, maybe sign somewhere that's having a little bit quarterback problems anyway. Somewhere maybe like the Raiders. And then maybe you get a chance to prove that you're a starter again. But he's going to have to be a backup. If he wants to continue playing in the NFL, at least he's going to have to be a backup. Just going to keep scrolling here. Scrolling. You know. Man, I thought there was going to be more interesting. Seen some interesting ones earlier. There was one, Bruce Arians said something. I think I actually saved it. So he made the comment that we're not playing. I should have talked about this. I totally forgot about it when I was talking about this matchup. But he said we're not playing a 7-9 team. We're playing a 4-1 team. You know, that's just how good Alex Smith is. He's the comeback player of the year. When he plays, he's 4-1. When they don't play, they're not very good. And the thing that stood out to me here is he said, we're not playing Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne, whatever strip club you're in, Bruce Arians isn't having it. He probably doesn't care anyway. So there's that. So this is the second time I'm seeing this. I guess I'm going to take a little shot on it because it's something that's not football. I think we've talked about football a lot. Lamello Ball got a warning for violating the NBA's anti-flopping rule from this play Monday night. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and look it up. I'm watching it for the first time. He definitely flopped. He was going down before the dude even touched him. It's just interesting. I don't see a problem with flopping in the NBA. I think it's just like kind of one of those things. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, be more physical. That's the thing I think we're missing in basketball is a more physical basketball style. And that's why a lot of players like MJ and Shaq say that a lot of these players that are playing today could not last in the 80s, the 90s. I've watched a couple games of Lamello's. I'm not too impressed. I feel like he's a little bit better version of his brother, but definitely overrated. He's going to have to definitely prove us a lot different on that. There's Lamello. Got to talk about something else that finally wasn't football. I know there was something about basketball too I want to talk about. Let's go ahead and get into that. And this is going to turn into a little bit of a rant for me because it feels like today anybody can pick up a pair of boxing gloves and you're a boxer. If you go to the store and you buy yourself a pair of boxing gloves, it automatically makes you a boxer according to the Jake Paul standard of boxing. And that's been out for so long that, I mean, it's shooting a dead horse when it comes to it. Like, it's so overdone. But buying a pair of boxing gloves does not make you a boxer. In that case, McGregor, I want to fight you because I own a pair that's up in my room. So, King Ryan, his name's King Ryan Garcia. I think that's his name. He won against Luke Campbell in a fight where he got knocked out, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, he got knocked out!" Yeah, man, he's human. That happens. So, he called out somebody, and the dude's like, "Consider it done." So, that's just kind of like my deal is that I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, I can box now just when you have boxing gloves." Like, I think it's a great workout. Like, I think if you want to box, go ahead and do it because it's a great workout. It really is. It is. They tell you if you're somebody that just wants to kind of have fun, get some anger out, have a good little workout, I think boxing is the way to go. Shadow boxing, you don't even have to have a pair of gloves, dude. You could just sit down and at a gym and just dance around a little bit, get the feet moving, get the blood pumping, throw some swings, all that good stuff. I didn't get as far as I wanted to on this little wild card Wednesday, and I think that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go through every Wednesday, and we are just going to look at social media and we're going to pick out what we want to talk about. So that way you guys can kind of see what I want to – you get the first reaction on what I think about everything. A lot of these things I did not see. That was just me purely reacting as I would on my phone. Like, when I see something, I go through and I'm like, I acknowledge it. I'm kind of like, I break it down. I'm like, what am I looking at? Does it really bother me? It doesn't really bother me as much, but it happens. Tomorrow I'll be on and we'll start back off with our message of the day. I wanted to get away from that so that way, we're look at that. Food for thought. I think that everything's went well. We're almost through the week. Got 2 more days. Stick with me. If there's anything you guys want to see, let me know. I tried my best with the art. I do all my art by myself. My channel art, my logo, the thumbnails that I do, they're all made by me. I draw them. I added something a little to them. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's anything you guys want to hear about. If there's something here, if there's something I missed, let me know. So as for that, I will see you guys tomorrow on the podcast.